So on each of these dates, an individual executed a script, and that script repeatedly looked for a blank password for all of the accounts on the system. Depending on the system, there were only about 16 accounts that were present on a given system. Okay? So this script was run multiple times. On 2/11, 462 log entries were overwritten by this script. On the 3rd of March, 37,686 log entries were overwritten by this same script. On the 12th, which is the day before we received the system, there were 330 log entries overwritten by that script. Now the challenge here is that I know that this occurred. I know which account did it. It was the EMS admin account. If you reflect back to what I just said about the lack of accountability of assigning that username to an individual, it now becomes extremely difficult to prove who did it. Okay? Now, luckily, we happen to have some historical data from the MTech video feeds. And so we leveraged that data to backtrack and align these times, and we have captured screenshots of Maricopa County people at the keyboards during those time periods. Okay? Now, we've identified those individuals, but we will not release their names because we understand what the scrutiny is and what the impacts would be to those individuals. But I just want to tell you that the very point that they did not have an assignment of that username makes this extremely difficult to get to the bottom of things like this. And this is not, unfortunately, an isolated occurrence in the course of this audit. Next slide, please. For example, on 2/1/2021, the SQL logs on the EMS indicate that the RTR admin account purged the general election results from the database on the EMS. Okay. Now, remember the lack of log retention at this point. We could not find any logged entry that corresponded to this activity, okay, from the security logs. Those Windows security logs only went back to the 5th, but everything was purged on the 1st of February. That's also right before the 2 audits commissioned by the county were due to commence. I believe they commenced on the 2nd of February. So once again, accountability of who had access to the RTR admin account when that password is actually shared among all of the accounts becomes extremely difficult. So who did it, right? Why did they do it? You would think that if you were doing an audit the next day, that you would want to have the full context of the election to be audited. But that clearly was not the case in this instance.
So just to clarify, so this is a log file specifically from results tallying and reporting, which is the Dominion software. That entry says that someone went into the program and clicked on something that said, I want to purge all the results for this election. That goes through and that deletes all of the records within it, and if you actually take a look, you can see the success. It's like the second line up, that it completed successfully, and it literally deletes all of the files on the NAS directory as well, which is where all the results from the election are contained, where all the images from the election are contained, and all those other details. So some individual went into an application and they chose specifically to run something that would clear all records in the system that was used to generate the official results the day before an audit started.